Whoa,
Wow.
Nelly! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Let's Talk College Football. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Sean Spencer. You see who's next to me. The lovely. Go ahead.
Yeah. Kate Elverson is here, part of the ladies takeover.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And with the similar colors, my guy under
here. I'm Alex Loosemore, helping out here, Box Report, North Sports Dynasty, all over the place.
Oh yeah. Look at this. Go Ducks. Hey, can they get the win in week one? It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Against the defending champs. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night. Welcome to Let's Talk College Football, where we bring you the sport that we love. We love football, but college football is unique. I know you guys can agree with me on this one.
Oh, definitely.
It is so special. That video alone was just kind of like, oh, let's go.
Gave me goosebumps.
I'm ready. Right.
It makes me think of like Keith Jackson's voice doing a football game.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So definitely hope we don't get copyrighted for that, because I didn't create that. Hopefully, but it was such a great video that I definitely wanted to see it. And ladies and gentlemen, we are getting you ready for the 2022 season. College football it's right around the corner. It's middle of June now. July is close. August is when it starts. August 27th are when the first games will kick off. I cannot wait, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot wait. And these two people here with me, I know, agree. Every bit.
Yes.
Every bit. So thank you for being with us. Really quickly, we want to start the show because this is an amazing day. This is a day that lets us know that courage and dedicating, fighting, and keeping going, and the Lord answers prayers. Yeah. My girl, Katie, you got a special anniversary today, Katie. Talk to us.
It is 4 years ago today that I learned that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And and here I am sitting here talking college football.
Yes.
Because the good Lord isn't done with me yet. He has a plan and a purpose, and I'm here, and I just can't believe it's been 4 years already. What a journey it's been. And let me just tell you, I was hell-bent and determined to kick cancer's butt, and I have one more year, and I will be considered in full remission. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, who would be around to be the loud, obnoxious Tom Brady and Michigan football fan in this family?
Yeah. And Joey Burrow.
So anyway, but I just want to say thank you to all of you that have come beside me to support me and love on me and encourage me and everything through the journey, because I'm here. You ain't done with me yet.
Let's go.
Let's keep it that way.
Right. Exactly. And look, I have to be honest with you. When I first started to think about doing any kind of show that had to do with college football, the first person on my mind was Miss Katie Alverson. Okay. Because I absolutely know you know. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell this story. A lot of people don't know this story. My fiance is a diehard Michigan State fan, close friends with Katie, and they go back and forth. Obviously, if you don't know the rivalry, watch this show. You're gonna know a little bit about that one.
Yeah.
And there was one night, Michigan State had just beat Michigan that year, and so Michigan State was playing, I think, Rutgers or something like that. And so I'm sitting here, and it was a close game, and I think Michigan State lost, like, at the very end on some questionable calls. And I'm, and Kate had put something on Facebook, so I jumped in there like, no, that's not right, whatever. So Kate and I went back and forth for the next, 20 or 30 minutes, and this is, late.
It was late at night.
Right. And I'm sitting here, and I want to paint the picture. We were in a hotel, we were at Virginia Beach, me and Kat. and it was late, and the lights were off. And Kat turns over one time. She's like, "What is that light?" I said, I'm dealing with something. All right. Kate wants to say this stuff about this game. I'm defending you. Come on. But it was one of my favorite memories, and it really was that opening the door let me know, okay, oh yeah, we can talk football, we can talk college, we can talk anything. So we, on behalf of Let's Talk Football,
girls know sports too.
Hey, absolutely,
yes,
absolutely. That is 100% correct. So, hey, on behalf of Let's Talk Football, myself, and I know Alex as well,
yes,
we love you, and many more. You need to be on this all year.
Yes, absolutely.
I love you guys so much.
Oh yeah. Andy said, makes my heart feel good. We love you, Kate. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the feisty pill that y'all have to swallow.
Amen. Come on with it. But look, ladies and gentlemen, you know why we're here. You see the background. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. This is Let's Talk College Football. And real quick, it couldn't have worked any better. We talked about this off camera. If you see over in that little corner, there's that little M right over there, that little connector. Oh my goodness, man. This is going to be an itch. I know you guys are excited about this year. There's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
So top 25. Now there is no official top 25 right now, but there have been a lot of people putting out predictions and kind of getting us ready for it. Kate sent us, what is this, through NCAA.com, their projection. I'm going to go through real quick just the top 10, top 15. So we got right there, their projection is for Alabama at 1, Ohio State at 2, Georgia, the defending champs, at 3, Texas A&M at 4, Notre Dame 5, Utah 6, Clemson 7, Oklahoma State 8, Michigan at 9, and Wake Forest at 10. I mean, let's start there. Top 10, are there any surprises or anything? Like, you guys are at 9. How do you feel about you guys being so low?
I think we need to be higher. I think we need to be at like at least 6. At least 6.
Yep.
Maybe 5.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd put Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Texas A&M above us to start. And then I personally think we're better than Notre Dame right now.
I do too.
I think we're definitely better than Utah. I think we're definitely better than Clemson, especially the way Clemson looked last year. I don't think they deserve to be in the top 10.
Right.
Oklahoma State's a damn good football team, but I think we're above Oklahoma State, above Clemson, above Utah, and above Notre Dame. So to me, we're 5.
Right.
And you know, we wear these shirts that say Michigan versus everybody, so it's always Michigan versus everybody.
Yeah.
What surprised me, in my opinion, Texas A&M, like, I understand what they did a year ago. I understand that they beat Alabama, but at the same time, that I thought was a little high for me. I mean, maybe 5 or 6. I wouldn't put you guys maybe over them, but Notre Dame with the new coach, I kind of want to see. They lost some serious pieces, but they do have baby Gronk. We're going to talk about him a little later at their tight end position. So, they have some weapons that they can definitely work with. I'm kind of fine with them. Utah had a great year last year, and that's why I believe, they're projected higher, but they have a couple people coming back, but they also had a couple people they lost. So I could see you guys higher, definitely over Clemson. And that might be an ACC bias of mine. Yeah. You guys, Clemson did not show me anything last year.
And you lost both your coordinators.
Right.
And they did.
So
did we, but that's a different story. But Clemson didn't ball out like they usually do.
Yeah. They struggled a lot.
They struggled big time.
Yeah. And then it started with their quarterback, DJ Ugalele. He just wasn't – he just looked like he was kind of shell-shocked at times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in that first game, when they played Georgia, I was like, oh, is he this bad? But no, we didn't realize Georgia was that good. But then East also throughout the ACC, like, losing to NC State. You know what I mean? Losing certain games. It was – he didn't show me what he needed to have them this high. They do have a lot of talent. But losing their coach and everything, that's I don't
especially
know.
Brent Venables. That is a huge loss for that defense.
Yeah. Absolutely. Agree with Oklahoma State and Wake Forest at 10. I'm
okay with that. Yeah,
I really like that.
That's going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah,
they've got one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the nation in Sam Hartman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely,
this guy's a baller. And I think it a dark horse, an early dark horse for a Heisman hopeful if he had the kind of season he had from a year ago.
Yeah, because he had 4,200 yards and 39 touchdowns last year.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Nobody does that at a school like Wake Forest.
No.
And he's pulling it off and playing very well. They went unranked, and then as soon as Hartman got in there, they won 8 straight. Yeah. So, I mean, that says something about the guy right there.
And he's poised to do it again. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun game. Do they play North Carolina, Sean?
Yes. I believe they do. Let me check the date really quick.
I haven't
November 12th. November 12th, we go to Wake Forest. I don't know that I really want to go ahead and get into my team thus far because
but that's lost my guy. Fun one to watch.
It will. If not for anything else, but to see always ACC matchups are always solid, and we have a returning receiver, Josh Downs, that balled out a year ago. Now because of Sam Howell, that was a large part of it. But we do have some guys coming in. I got full faith in our coach. All right, Mac Brown's the guy. Mac Brown's the guy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, is there anybody in that we've seen their kind of top 10? Is there anybody that is maybe not in here that maybe should be, in your opinion?
I think Kate's got one that we'll probably both agree on here, but I'll let her throw hers out.
Who I think should be in the top 10?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking beyond where they have other teams ranked.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of excited to see what Houston does.
Yep. I agree with that, actually. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's the one team that I think are going to really surprise us this season.
Yeah, I feel like they might run away with that American Conference this year.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's going to be either them or Cincinnati.
I would rank them higher.
Yep. Yeah. To me, you could also make an argument for Baylor.
Right.
As much as I hate to say it as a Michigan fan, Michigan State could very
easily. Go.
They're a top 10 team in the nation. If you ask me, to me, those 2 or 3 teams right there are the only other teams to me you can make an argument for in the top 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Would you look at an NC State who brings back Leary, brings back a couple of the wide receivers, has a top 5 O lineman? Would you look at NC State and see maybe they go at 10?
Yeah, you can make the argument for them at 10. I still like them in that 11 to 15 range because I think Michigan State's a better team. Houston to me is a better team, but you could go either way with that one.
Yeah.
But NC State is a very good football team, and they're going to do a lot of damage this year.
I think NC State has a good chance of being number 1 in the ACC at the end of the college football season.
Ooh,
I like that.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I think they're going to really show everyone what they're made of this season. They have great talent, a good coach.
And the elephant in the room, North Carolina is probably going to have a down year. That's why they're going to do well. Hey, I'm still a North Carolina guy, all right?
Well, okay, here's my question for you, though. What do you consider a down year?
Is it because he lost Sam Howell?
That's a down year. There it is. There is the answer.
I mean, you've got like a top 6 or 7 receiver. Like there's still good talent
you
there.
Still have a stacked offense.
And we actually had top tier recruits that we've gotten. A number of 5 stars, a couple 4 stars. So we are one of the more underrated teams that does reload.
Absolutely.
That has that offense, has that team going. So I definitely think we're going to bring it. But come on, Alex. You saw how excited I have been. and how excited I got once I got Sam Howell. It is all that is the interviews. That's the only thing we talked about in the offseason was Sam Howell. So there it is.
That's a tough player to replace. Sam Howell was so good at the college level.
He was a very good quarterback.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Great leader on the field, kept his team composed.
And did whatever it took to win.
Yeah. And that's the one thing about losing the college football players is like losing that leadership in the teams and everything. And Sam Howell was a great leader.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go from 15, and they have NC State, Houston. We talked about Arkansas, who a lot of people are kind of talking. I think they're sleeping on. Kentucky, another one of those. Iowa, shout out to Ash Swinton. Oklahoma at 20. USC, a lot of people think it's going to be a turnaround at 21. 22, BYU. Yeah, right now.
Right.
Wisconsin at 23. Tennessee at 24. And Cincinnati at 25 on this list. I kind of agree with that. USC was one of the teams that has got a lot of talk in the offseason, but let's prove it on the field first. You know what I mean?
I think
the system works.
They have every right to be in the top 25, and I'll be curious to see what Lincoln Riley does with that team this season. I have them on my team to watch list.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't usually pay attention a lot to the Pac-12, but I definitely will be making some late night arrangements to stay up and watch some of those games just to see how well they do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you've got one of the better coaches in college football. You've got one of the better quarterbacks. You've got probably the second best receiver in college football this year. Like, they're going to do a lot of damage offensively. It's just when you play these teams like Oregon and Utah in the Pac-12 that know how to score the ball at will.
Right.
It's going to make the games interesting, but are they going to lose a lot of 45 to 42 games this year?
Right.
Their games are going to be close. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of surprises from Lincoln Riley out there.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's going to turn that program around.
And the question will be about about the defense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because they like you said, there's a lot of high-powered offenses going on out there. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think this is the right place. I do want to see what kind of offensive production they do, because it's going to be quite interesting with Caleb Williams now. They also got the big name wide receiver,
Jordan Addison,
right, out of Pitt. So that in my opinion is obviously on paper is a great 1-2 punch, but let's see what they do on the field against some of these other squads. Anthony in the comments was saying Tennessee has the potential to do some damage.
Yes,
this year. I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could see Tennessee ranked this year very easily. They've got one of the better quarterbacks that's available for the draft. It's not often you see a Tennessee player in the Heisman betting odds.
Mm-hmm.
And Hendon Hooker, their quarterback, is up there a little bit. So they could definitely do some damage this year.
Yeah, and then he's getting back his top receiver, Cedric Tillman.
Yeah, he's a good receiver.
Exactly. So, and look, I honestly think they're in that SEC, which is obviously tough. They had to go up against a couple of the powerhouses, but I loved what I saw with Hendon Hooker a year ago with that fast-paced offense, and I do think they got a couple guys. I really think they can work it out this year. They need to keep pace, but with maybe Georgia being down a little bit, I don't know how far they step back, but I think they can steal one of those in there. They can steal one of those, and maybe a little. Does that make me crazy? But yeah,
I'll be curious to see what Wisconsin does this year. I think they're going to be one of those surprises in the Big Ten.
They're to me at some point this year they will be a top 10 team in the nation.
Oh, definitely.
You've got that offensive line, they're always loaded on defense. You've got that young running back, Braylon Allen, coming in, who's I think he's gonna light up the league.
Definitely.
He's an early Heisman contention. I've seen a lot of,
So Wisconsin's gonna be a very dangerous team. Them and Iowa again for the Big Ten West. It's those two every year.
Yeah.
I don't really see that changing this year. So,
which they're looking at shaking up the divisions in the Big Ten. They don't think they're fair and fairly matched. So we'll see what happens there throughout the season, if they do it this season or if they wait, if they'll get it done before. But yeah, they're looking at shaking up the divisions in the Big Ten, or not even having divisions.
That would be interesting.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, that Big Ten championship game was quite lopsided against Iowa.
Michigan, Ohio State was that Big Ten conference.
Yeah, that definitely was.
You've got 4 teams in the East that would beat the 2 teams in the West, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And not in the top 25, a team I'm going to be surprised to see what they do is LSU with Kelly as their coach.
And Jaden Daniels is the quarterback. They've got 2 potential top 10 receivers, 2 potential top 10 corners. There's still talent all over that team.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that's the one team I'm going to be watching, too, to see what Kelly can do to them, because he really was a good coach at Notre Dame.
I wonder if he might get shell-shocked in the SEC, though.
He's
never really done well against those SEC teams, so.
Yeah. A lot of people definitely think that transition is sometimes too much for coaches to bear, because, going up against them week after week after week,
it can be a lot.
Yeah.
The SEC is a brutal conference in the Power 5.
But talking about them, I think we need to spotlight as Kentucky, and they're they're in swing,
definitely
with having Will Slovis back, with having that running back Rodriguez. I honestly think they were shocking people because they were staying in games. They were upsetting, knocked out with Florida a year ago. They really played a solid ball, and I think they might have built on something. Well, you guys agree on that, or what you think?
Oh, I definitely think they have some potential to be dangerous. Definitely.
Yeah, like you said, they've got talent all over the board. And again, it's the SEC. So, they'll go beat most teams from other conferences, even though they'll be, even if they're like 4th, 5th, 6th in the conference.
And they have a really good running back in Chris Rodriguez Jr.
Yes.
Very good running back.
I'm forgetting the quarterback's name right now, but he's
Will Levis.
He's gonna be right up there with some of these top quarterbacks come draft time next year.
No, absolutely, and he showed it. He showed it in moments a year ago, and I think he's gonna be able to get it consistently this year. So we'll go ahead. We'll take a look. But outside of top 25, Katie, you mentioned LSU. Alex, is there anybody that you're looking at outside of the top 25 that you're like, they might shock us?
There's a couple of these Big Ten teams I've been looking at, and there's a couple sleepers that I feel are going to do a lot better than everyone thinks. And to me, that's Maryland and Rutgers. Maryland's got Talia Tagovailoa, who's a little too backyard footballish for some people. He's entertaining as hell to watch. You got 2 top 10 receivers. You got Raheem Jarrett and Dante Demas. You've got good offensive line, good defensive line. They're going to scare a lot of people this year. Probably walk away with 7-8 wins and be in a good bowl game. And then Rutgers is Greg Schiano. He's an amazing college football coach.
Yes, he is.
He's building something special there at Rutgers. He went toe-to-toe with a lot of those powerhouse Big Ten teams last year. Took them down to the wire. So we were talking about Kentucky and some of those teams maybe stealing a few games. Look for Rutgers to steal some from Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State. Look for them to steal at least one of those 4.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that. Katie, what do you think?
I also like to follow interstate rivalries that we have. And I think CMU, as a MAC school, might surprise a lot of people. They have a really good coach in McElwain, so I think they're going to do some surprising things, and we'll see what happens with them, because they got a lot of good recruits in the off season. And so I'm curious to see what good old the good old Chips do.
Mm-hmm. Fire up Chips. And that Lou Nichols, their running back, Lou Nichols, is a monster. He actually led the country in all-purpose yards last year with 2,100 yards and balled out. So this guy plays. He is that offense. And hey, in the MAC, I think he could do something. I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah.
I follow the MAC quite a bit in sports, and I like watching CMU play football, so I'm excited to see what they have to offer this season.
Schiano's a solid college football coach at best. He's the best 500 coach in NFL history. He gets those guys amped up. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and we can agree to disagree on that because numbers only tell half the story.
Yep.
Right.
To me, watching Rutgers compete in games they should have no business being in, to me, that's enough to push him up to that next tier. He's like that third tier of coaches right now in college football. I'm not saying he's up there with the Sabins and Kirby Smarts of the world. He's nowhere near those guys.
No. But
he's definitely that third tier. He could be coaching at a much better school right now if he wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
No. I mean, Alex and I's team lost some big coaches too this season. So we lost our offensive coordinator and our defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But I like the hires that Michigan did to bring things back together. So coaching changes can be good.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of Gaddis going, that was another team, and I saw the comment from Zagnif there. Miami's one that I want to keep an eye on too because Mario Cristobal, Josh Gaddis, you got Tyler Van Dyke there.
Absolutely.
That's going to be a fun team to watch this year.
Oh, yeah. I love the early Heisman hype, and we will definitely talk about that in just a second. But I absolutely, with Cristobal going back there, and we saw what he did a year ago over at Oregon, and they upset the team that you guys don't like to name. Did you guys a favor?
I was so happy that day.
I know it. I know
it. So happy.
But he had, back-to-back Pac-12 championships. He dominated out there, and then to come back and get the job that he wanted. And the biggest thing about it, and I love that, Anthony, that you mentioned that, Miami, with Cristobal being there, the number one thing he did at the spring game, everybody come back. All you, Ed Reed, McKinney, all you guys, everybody come back, get on the sideline, talk to these guys, bring back the you. You know what I mean? Bring back that fire, bring back that intensity, that swagger. And I'm excited to see what they do. I think Van Dyke showed some signs a year ago, and we know what kind of coach Cristobal is, all business. And this next year is going to show something.
Miami's always been a fun and exciting team to watch, so I'm excited to see what they do.
Well, and the thing with Cristobal, too, is and Miami's never had a problem recruiting these skill guys, the quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, DBs. The one thing they've struggled to get is those trench guys, the offensive and defensive lines. That's Cristobal's recruiting specialty.
Exactly.
That's why you saw Penei Sewell and all these other guys from Oregon that are getting drafted and playing well in the NFL is Cristobal knows how to scout those big guys. So Miami can go get all those skill guys, and then Cristobal can work on these big guys. Yeah. Miami can be very special in the next couple of years. Could be back to what people used to expect from them.
I missed them kind of being in the top 10, top 5 considerations, and they've always been one of those lightning fast teams, and you're just excited to watch them.
They had such a swagger. Talk about those 80s teams, early 90s teams. And then that 01 team was arguably one of the greatest teams of all time. I mean, what was it, 17 or 18 players in the first round alone? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many Hall of Famers was on that team?
I've owned some Miami Hurricane swagger.
Oh, yeah.
I've had some swag.
I would rock the U. I love the U.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it. But I'm definitely eager to see what they bring back this season. And to your point, Alex, for those of you who don't know, Cristobal, I know he's slimmed down now, but Cristobal was own lineman. You know what I mean? He was in the trenches. He was a part of their 89 and 91 national championship teams. He knows what it takes to win. He knows what it's like to be a big guy, to be in the trenches and things of that nature. So I love him being back there, and that's something I'm very excited about as far as being in the ACC. So I like that.
Yeah.
The ACC is going to be fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Very fun. Very fun.
Oh, yeah. So we will definitely see what is going to happen. But, ladies and gentlemen, we need to move on because I want us to start diving into, we talked to the teams. And to be honest with you, these teams are made up of certain players. The players get a lot of the glory. We always want to single X, Y, and Z out. So let's go into it. Way too early, but what are some of our Heisman hopefuls? I'm gonna go ahead and put the obvious choices on the bottom ticker. But Kate, I'm gonna come to you first. Who are some of the people that you're just this year you're just thinking as right now the Heisman hopefuls?
I definitely have Bryce Young of Alabama, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. I just think he's the best overall quarterback in college football to this day. His numbers have proven that fact. And, of course, I have C.J. Stroud of Ohio State in talks. I think he will be the sleeper that will show us what he's made of this year, especially after that heartbreaking loss to our team in the Big House. And then, since Aiden Hutchinson kind of opened up the field for bringing back the defensive player in, I do have Alabama's Will Anderson.
Yeah.
He's probably he's going to be probably the best edge rusher in college football this season.
He might be the best overall player in college football this year.
So I definitely have him in my talks. A few others that I know they've been talking about too are Caleb Williams of USC.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and the quarterback of Clemson. So those are the ones that I have, but I personally, because I'm a defensive girl, I would love to see Will Anderson just ball out this season and win it. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the one that I definitely would love to see get that. Because to me, other than Aiden, he was by far like my favorite defensive player to watch.
Yeah.
He's just lightning fast and quick. His numbers prove why he belongs in that talk. But I think you'll see C.J. Stroud win it. I have a feeling.
Oh, yeah. I can see it. If everything goes according to plan and they have the year that everything people are expecting them to have, yeah, I can definitely see this. I will put this joke in here, Anthony, because we do think it's funny. Stetson, the mailman Bennett. Yes, we know you did. That is correct. Alex, what are you thinking? I mean, Will Anderson, I agree with 100%. I've heard the talk about Caleb Williams, but I have some questions still about him, especially with the transition. And then obviously the Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. But like, what are those guys pretty much your top guys, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, so right now for me, I would go Stroud 1. He's personally my pick for the best quarterback in college football right now. And I think what kind of did it for me was that bowl game against Utah. Yep. Like, that game was electric. And I think having that weapon like Jackson Smith and Jigba on the outside will kind of help take him over the top. The other quarterbacks, Young. I would hold off on Caleb Williams, but I think by the end of the year, he might be a finalist there. Mm-hmm. DJ Uiagalelei, definitely. Tyler Van Dyke. I would love to see Will Anderson in there. And then a couple of running backs here. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously Travion Henderson. Braylon Allen, maybe, as kind of that sleeper for that freshman to get in there in talks. And then Bijan Robinson, to me, from Texas is probably the best running back in college football. Yeah. And I think him and Quinn Ewers could have a lot of fun there this year.
I'm so interested in seeing what him and Quinn Ewers do this coming year. There's been so much hype for Quinn Ewers coming in, and you got Sarkisian, coaching the thing, getting them going. Yeah, I think I watch out. That's one of my teams that I'm looking at this year. But yeah, I love that. I love that. Travion Henderson is somebody that maybe a little dark horse on that list. Lou Nichols, with the year he had last year and how much he's involved in that offense, could definitely be a dark horse. You saw what the guy from Michigan State did, Mr. Kenneth Walker III, and how his running game definitely not only propelled the team, but elevated him into that conversation. But I gotta agree. In my opinion, CJ Stroud, with one more year under his belt, ready. He's played in big name ball. Now he has a chip on his shoulder because of the loss to you guys a year ago. I think he's going to definitely propel them in there. And he's my number one. Bryce Young, he's on Alabama. He's got Will Anderson on defense. He's going to be up there. Will Anderson's going to have to get 22, 23 plus and a couple defensive touchdowns and maybe even be on offense. For me,
and you know what? That might not be out of the question.
Right.
You never know what Nick Saban's going to do with him.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, if that happens, I mean, look, you guys know who's the last defensive player to win the Heisman and the only defensive player.
Right.
Yeah, the Hall of Famer himself. So it's near impossible. And in that, he was a special teams guy. He was a kick returner. He
had a really good one-handed interception against a team in East Lansing.
Okay, listen. On behalf of my baby, okay, on behalf of her, I will not accept it. But it was a beautiful interception. It was a beautiful interception, absolutely.
But I'm gonna be interested to see. No one really expected Aiden Hutchinson to get in that talk early on in the season.
Yeah, he finished second.
Have a pretty dangerous running back in Blake Corum that you never know if he really is going to have the season they're thinking he might have. He could get early in on those talks. That's my little surprise that I'm going to watch.
The only thing that makes me think he won't get into the conversation is kind of the same thing that happened last year with Haskins and Corum. Donovan Edwards is going to eat a lot of those carries. You saw later on in the season, they used him more and more. I think they really like this guy. I think he's going to...
They're going to be but I think Blake's going to just be I'm back, I'm healthy, watch out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I hope so. I really do, because, man, when he gets that ball and he's a speed guy that has power. He'll run through guys to get that first down. I love Blake Corum.
So that's my guy from Michigan that I think might get put in the mix maybe halfway to the end of the season, where kind of Aiden Hutchinson got talk.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see it. See it. My only other dark horse is, I mentioned him earlier, Sam Hartman. We talked about him earlier. I think if he has a similar year to the year he had a year ago, if he can get them to go maybe one loss or even undefeated in a division that is very able, he's very capable of doing that. I think he will be in those talks late in the year. If he can get them to a New Year's Six Bowl, Hartman, we already know he is one of this next class that's coming out that is going to be potentially an elite quarterback. So I really like him as my dark horse to get in there, and we'll see, man. I was pulling for him the end of last year.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah. So those are our early Heisman hopefuls. Let us know what y'all think. What where do you think? Who do you think is going to be a surprise? I know Spencer Rattler is trending. He was trending early last year, and then
I read about him too, that he's trending again for this year.
I gotta see it on somewhere other than the practice field first.
Exactly. But you know what, PC? But that's the thing. Now, Tyler Van Dyke. Now we have seen some signs. He's shown some signs a year ago. But again, it's kind of for him to be in this conversation, or Quinn Ewers is the same thing. For him to be in this conversation, it makes you just okay. Is it because he's just that he's projected that high, or just what has he shown you? That was my argument with Rattler last year. What has he shown you to say he's a Heisman front runner?
You got to have a complete game to get put in that conversation, and your numbers have to prove that you belong there.
Yeah.
And at this point, all the odds and the predictions and all that, it's all just talking points. Nothing's gonna really be set in stone. Your front runners will be set after week 1, week 2, week 3, and then from there, you'll get guys that'll come in later in the season, guys that'll fall out later in the season. Like it's always going to be changing, but until we see these guys on the field the first couple weeks, this is all just talk right now.
Yep.
And they got to stay healthy and injury free.
Yep.
To stay in those talks.
Exactly.
Because we can see how quickly players can get injured and fall in the college football realms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And there's a lot of and actually a perfect segue. We're going to actually go into each position and kind of talk about some of these spotlight some of these guys that we're looking at, some of these guys that we're kind of interested in. And there's a number of guys that might be on my list that nobody knows about because they were hurt last year. Georgia's tight end, Eric Gilbert. This guy's a big guy that played over at LSU, was the 2020 freshman of the, SEC freshman of the year, and then gets hurt last year. And now he's over here at Georgia, and let's see what he can do. So there's a number of guys
with that other Georgia tight end that's going to
be Brock
scary.
Bowers, right?
Yeah.
And they have another guy, last name is like Delp, who's pretty solid himself.
Yeah.
I mean, they are that seems like what Stetson Bennett is kind of a quarterback that's like loves his tight ends.
Yeah.
Doesn't keep running game, keep them tight ends close. But Brock Bowers is a monster. I'm interested to see. Let's get on into it, Alex. I'm gonna start with you. Start with the money position, quarterback. Give me some people. We talked about Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. We talked about some of these guys that are everybody knows about. Give me some names that maybe are right under them. Like what are you thinking?
All right, yeah. So after those guys we've talked about, there's Kadon Slovis, the USC transfer to Pittsburgh. I think he could be a top 5 quarterback come draft time next year with a good year. The Georgia/USC transfer, JT Daniels, going to West Virginia. I think that could do some big things for him this year. Phil Jurkovec from Boston College. I hope I said his last name right. We talked briefly about Hendon Hooker. And then to me, Dylan Gabriel, the UCF transfer going to Oklahoma. I think these are all guys that could do a lot of damage this year and be in that conversation to get drafted next year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely like that. Kate, what are you thinking?
I had Dylan Gabriel as well to look out for. I think he's going to be really good this season. So other than that, I'm curious to see, what my boys at Michigan, of course, will do.
Oh, yeah.
Since
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that, guys.
I was holding off for her. I was leaving that for her.
I'm curious. We have some competition going on up in Ann Arbor or down in Ann Arbor from where I live. And Cade McNamara proved a lot last season. So I'm going to be really curious to see what they've done with his development in the offseason. We really couldn't have a true spring game because JJ was hurt. So
didn't he play both teams?
What? Yeah, didn't he
play both teams? Yeah.
Yeah, he quarterbacked for a little bit, and then they brought in the 3s and 4s.
Yeah.
But, I think Cade McNamara is going to have a very promising season. I really like his confidence. I like his game management, his game control. I like that he doesn't get nervous under pressure. And he's a good quarterback. He's underrated because, he's in the Big Ten. The Big Ten doesn't have an electric quarterback for most teams. We don't really have a lot of standouts. But I'm gonna look for my Michigan boys to do really well. And I think you're gonna see a lot of our little Spitfire JJ. So
now let me ask this. I got 2 Michigan fans on here. Is there a quarterback controversy in Michigan?
Yeah. If you watch Twitter like we do every day, there's this big fan for Michigan. His name is Don Thomas. Every day he's posting stuff. Do you know Don?
Yeah, I've seen him on there a few times.
Defending Cade McNamara, and then the guys from the Winged Helmet that are really cool guys are always like JJ, and it's JJ versus Cade versus JJ.
And Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, when you've got two quarterbacks that good and no Alec, I will not be wearing the khakis. That is Jim's thing, and it can stay Jim's thing. But when you've got two quarterbacks like that, it's going to cause some controversy because they're two totally different quarterbacks.
They are.
Cade McNamara's, when it comes to game managers, he's as good as it gets. He's not going to win you games. He's not going to lose you games. He's going to keep you in every game. He'll get you a couple touchdowns, couple 100 yards. But he's not going to make the mistakes that throw games away.
No.
J.J. McCarthy, on the other hand, is five plays a game and is like, oh my God, this guy could be a number one pick. But then you get a few plays that are real head scratchers. He's got some issues fumbling the ball, that kind of stuff. So,
definitely.
Yeah, I think he needs to wait a little bit longer personally. But the other thing I love with Cade is right after the season they're asking him about JJ and if he's worried about this competition and all that. And his response was, last I checked, I'm the one that won the Big Ten championship.
Yep.
And it was just like, yes. Like,
he brought smoke.
Yeah.
And what was really interesting is I met Cade after the Indiana game I attended.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, A, you need to stay out of the injury tent. B, you got to shut out the haters.
Mm-hmm.
And C, you are going to beat Ohio State.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And he did. And he stayed out of the injury tent. And he kept on playing through all the drama and the controversy that was being spoken about him. And I love that he can tune that out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, he's a good solid quarterback. I like him.
Yeah.
So
okay.
He'll be one of my quarterbacks to watch.
We know where you guys stand. And
I'll be watching to see who's replacing Mr. Howell too.
Oh, yes. You and I both. Look, honestly, at this position, there's a couple guys that I've been taking a look at. We've all know the notable names. We've talked about them. Malik Cunningham out of Louisville. The poor man's version of Lamar Jackson, but guy can ball. The guy can definitely ball out.
Can do it all.
I'm eager to see what kind of year he had. He had a couple injury issues, but he still was able to push through it. I love his game. Grayson McCall, I talked to you guys about him over at Coastal Carolina. 2 or 3 years ago, people are like, Coastal who? Like, who is this team? Right. And Grayson McCall, we all know he had that major duel, a year or two ago with Zach Wilson against BYU and got the upset. So this guy is going to be something, and he's going to be in one of the games to watch for this year. Going to play against the other quarterback I'm about to mention, Brennan Armstrong. This guy threw for over 440 passing yards a year ago, just balled out at the University of Virginia, no less. Like at UVA, he's returning 2 of his top tier wide receivers that both had over 900 receiving yards. So if you look at him throw, it's kind of like, really? Like that's almost a duck sometimes. It's a weird throw, but he gets it to his receivers, and I mean they go deep. I mean in the ACC, there was a couple games in the last couple years, especially when we had Sam Howell, that looked like the Big 12 or looked like the Pac-12, where it was 44 to 39 or big time scores. So I'm very excited to see what these guys are doing. And look, there could be a case made that the ACC is turning into quarterback, has a little quarterback quarterback conference.
Quarterback conference.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to see what they do and put up numbers. We'll see what happens.
What do we think about Max Johnson transferring from LSU to Texas A&M?
I don't know.
Because they've been talking about him.
Yeah.
As being someone that might surprise us.
I'd be eager to see what he does. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that a good question mark to watch?
Oh,
yes, absolutely.
That's a great question, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I'll have to take a look at that. All right, Leo, let's move on to my favorite position, the running back position. I'm going to go ahead and start. Lewis Nichols, we talked about before. having over 1,800 rushing yards a year ago. You talked about Jahmyr Gibbs, transferring over to Bama, Bijan Robinson. I want you guys to take a look at Sean Tucker out of Syracuse, almost 4 yards under 1,500 yards. Not one of these schools that a lot of people really takes time to focus on. At least not in football. They do a lot of basketball. Tucker has been year in and year out just playing solid ball, getting being a top tier running back, and just doesn't get looked at because of the school that he's at. I'm looking for him to get another almost about 1,500 yard year, and really be looking at somebody that comes out into the draft like, oh, this is a surprise for some lucky team out there. Those were the guys I was looking at. Kate, what are you looking at? What are you thinking?
The person I've been reading a lot about is from Kansas State, Deuce Vaughn.
Yes.
He's the one that I think is going to be really explosive. He can rush and he can receive. So when you have a running back that can do both, and that's a weapon.
Yep.
When he can do both, I mean, his numbers speak for themselves. He's a top 3 running back with a grade of 91.1 amongst running backs. Can rush and receive. He had 59 plays that resulted in 10 plus yards. So he's going to be a weapon that is going to be amazing. He finished top 10 in receiving grade. So I think he's fun. Kansas State is a fun football team to watch.
Absolutely.
Didn't they get Adrian Martinez this year, the old
Nebraska
quarterback?
Did.
Yeah, they're going to be fun. They're going to be a lot of fun.
Them.
So, I'll be curious to see how well he does, because a lot of insiders say he's going to have a good season.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about him too, for sure.
Oh yeah. Alice, what are you looking at running back?
So I got a few just off my list that we haven't mentioned yet. Tank Bigsby from Auburn.
Yep.
I think he could be a big physical back this year and kind of be one of these front runners in the draft as well. Zach Evans from Ole Miss. I believe he played at TCU last year, transferred over, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Mohamed Ibrahim from Minnesota had some really big games last year.
Yes, he did.
To me, he's one of those sneaky running backs coming into this draft class. Travis Dye from USC, the Oregon transfer. Lincoln Riley always has one running back every year or two that pops off and is just one of the elite running backs of college football. To me, Travis could be that guy.
Him and Verdell were solid a year ago at Oregon. They were a great 1-2 punch, so that's a big score for USC.
Yeah. And then my last one, Kate, you'll recognize this name. Zach Charbonnet, the old Michigan running back.
UCLA,
he was one of the better running backs in the nation for the first month and a half last year. And then UCLA as a whole kind of took a dive. He was one of those guys early in the season, and I think with another year he could be like right back in that conversation. So to me, Charbonnet is one of those guys to watch for sure.
What year is he again, Alex?
He's in his junior year. He could go to the draft after this year.
Yes, he could.
Oh yeah, I'm eager to see. And we saw the losses. They lost Gilrich. They lost the tight end.
Yep.
There, So, but that's UCLA is one of those teams that I'm definitely trying to look at and see. What do they do? And running back, I like that. I like what they got.
He was explosive last year for them.
He really was.
Oh, he one of the best home run hitters in college football last year. Like,
right.
Every time he touched the ball, you were worried it might go to the house. Like,
exactly.
And I think it's unfortunate because you see a lot of these guys. You talk about Deuce Vaughn and now Zach Charbonnet. If their team is not successful, all of a sudden they're not getting the publicity and not getting the press. But these guys are still balling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that I want to spotlight on here. We can talk about some of these guys that you might not hear about, like, unless you're in the Big Ten before last year, you didn't know about the guys you got, Corum and Haskins. You didn't know, but then once you see them, they're balling out and they're in the mainstream. Now all of a sudden, now I want to talk about it. Now I see
Kenneth Walker too.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. He was another one at the beginning of the year that people were like, "Who? Where did this guy come from?" And then all of a sudden he balls out. So yeah, I definitely want to shed light on that. But we're gonna move on to the diva position on the field, the wide receivers. My guy Alex. Who do you have? Who you starting with, man?
So I mean, the main guy to watch this year, everyone knows it, is Jackson Smith and Jigba.
That's who I have too.
Jordan Addison, the Pitt transfer to USC. Marvin Mims from Oklahoma is being grossly underrated this year. This is a top 5 receiver in college football, regardless of what year you're in. Obviously, he's one of the better draft eligible guys. Right. He's one of the best overall guys in college football. I mentioned Raheem Jarrett and Dante Demas, the Maryland guys. And then obviously Josh Downs, North Carolina
baby.
and Jaden Reed from Michigan State. Yeah. Like there's a lot of really good receivers this year in college football.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, our own team has quite a few good ones.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Andrel Anthony, we have Sandstrill, we have Cornelius Johnson. We have a loaded wide receiver core.
Ronnie Bell's coming back.
Ronnie Bell, my boy.
We get one more year.
Yes, and he says he's super healthy, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Bubble tape that boy.
Yeah, please.
But I'm pretty excited to see what our receiving core has to do because they're coming alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They were really fun to watch last year.
They were super fun to watch. You just never expected it. Some of the plays they had, the routes they ran.
We'll see if they can keep that up. But yeah, no, I definitely like some of those picks. I want to go with Xavier Worthy, somebody I'm looking at. Yes. He was solid a year ago, but now I want to see how he works with Quinn Ewers over there at Texas. I mentioned Brennan Armstrong out of Virginia. His 2 wide receivers, Dontavian Wicks, had over 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns a year ago. And then Kentayon Thompson balled out and had over 1,300 yards. So both these guys are dominant. He's bringing both of them back. That offense, him being in the ACC, that duo is definitely something. If you can bring both of your top tier receivers back, I'm definitely looking at your team, and especially with that high-powered offense. And then you also have the guy you mentioned out of Maryland, Demas, Dante Demas. With Tulia having him back from that injury, I think he was one of those guys that people were saying is very like NFL ready, a year ago. Now with him getting back, hopefully he can stay. His health is key. We got to make sure he stays healthy. But this guy is definitely something that could take that team. That team, shout out to my guy Nathan Snell and Will Kramer, both Maryland guys. They love him. They always in my ear about him. I try to shut him out. But hey, look, honestly, if they can get those receivers back and get Talia working with that offense, they could really do something. It's going to be a struggle because they are in that Big Ten. And y'all know, y'all know how that goes. But I think they could shock some people for sure, just like you were mentioning. Like you were mentioning. Kate, what do you think at wide receiver?
Someone that I watched a lot, even though they lost to Michigan State in the Peach Bowl, but Kenny Pickett had a weapon with Jordan Addison too. Mm-hmm. So he's a really good receiver to watch. So I'll be watching him. He had quite a few yards last year, 1,593 receiving yards and 17 touchdowns. So Pitt will be a fun team to see what happens there now that they've lost their quarterback to my favorite guy to argue with, Cindy Swinton's team. So, it'll be interesting to see. The reason it's funny because I don't watch the receivers as much as I watch the tight end. The tight end's my favorite position.
Yeah.
I'm a tight end girl.
But hey, I understand it.
Yeah.
No, don't go there.
No. Oh my God. Wow. What is a G-rated show here? What are you talking about, Kate?
Oh, but yeah. And I'm excited to see what happens with our tight end, but that's our next topic of conversation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anthony's saying Mims is a beast. Depends who under center for OU this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting who's passing for them. And Burton is going to make some noise in Tuscaloosa. Mario Williams at USC. I've heard about Mario Williams at USC, so I want to see if that translates.
He was on one of the watch lists I saw. Mario Williams is at receiver.
Yeah. Let's see if it translates once you get to the fall. I mean, a lot of this, again, like you were saying, speculation, all kind of just talk. It's all talking points, trying to figure out what's going on. We're just trying to give you a couple little ideas of who we think is going to kind of be out there. Speaking of tight ends, Kate, would you like to take this one? Since you already started
Anthony, you're gonna love who I picked. I picked Brock Bowers. He is the most explosive tight end in college football.
Yeah.
He is just being a true freshman and he has high speed, explosiveness, ball skill. I be curious to see how well Georgia does. They lost 15 players to the NFL. But I am most curious to see how Mr. Eric All does in Michigan.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Eric All, he was third or fourth on the watch list for tight ends this season. He was ranked very high to watch, so I'll be curious to how he does that pass he had versus Penn State last season.
The winning touchdown,
Oh, the winning touchdown. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
He's a very good tight end. He's very explosive. He can run. He has speed. He has endurance. But Brock Bowers, he's probably going to be the best tight end in all of college football this season.
Yeah.
He's just... His stature, his build, his way of moving, his way of route running is the best I saw in college football last year and probably will be again this year.
Yeah, he's a receiver in a tight end's body.
So loaded all the time.
Yep.
Those Georgia dogs.
Hey. Yeah. They might take a step back, but they definitely have the talent. It's definitely a reload. And I think you're right. Brock Bowers is going to be the truth. I mean, we've seen what he did a year ago, and now this year, I just think he's going to continue it with the same quarterback. And I mean, we talked about it before. That tight end room is amazing. You got Eric Gilbert, who's coming off injuries, a big, solid tight end. And then you also have this guy, Delp, who's their third string guy, that he was in there and, just catching everything under the sun, a little undersized, but we'll see.
Loaded.
They're loaded at Georgia.
Loaded at that position.
Right. You got that right.
So, but Alex, who are you taking a look at? Do you have anybody else? I mean, obviously outside of Brock Bowers.
Brock's the number one tight end in the nation. I feel like that's a pretty easy statement.
Yeah.
The number two tight end for me is Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. Yeah. This is that baby Gronk you mentioned earlier. Through that little reference, but he does it all. He's a good blocker, good receiver, got good hands, good route running. Kind of all the things we were saying about Eric All. To me, he's a slightly better version of Eric All. But he's probably a top 5 prospect going into next year already. So definitely got to keep an eye on. You got Jaleel Billingsley, the Alabama transfer to Texas. If Quinn Ewers is what everyone expects him to be, then Billingsley will be one of the top tight ends in the country. Josh Weil from Cincinnati. Sam Laporta from Iowa.
Yep.
And Michael Trigg from Ole Miss.
Yeah. Those was I looked at a lot of those. Definitely Laporta. Shout out to him from Iowa, having 670 yards and 53 receptions, and he was one of those names that you don't really think about, but with that offense and how they use those tight ends and how they run the ball, he's definitely made big strides. Another guy that had a pretty solid season a year ago that's coming back, Brant Cuthie from Utah.
Okay.
Yeah. Had a solid year a year ago. Is coming back this year. He had 6 touchdowns, 611 yards, about 50 receptions. And, definitely was used a lot in their offense. I'm eager to see if he can keep that going. I mean, they were really motivated and inspired a year ago, but I'm eager to see if he can, really drive that coming into his senior season. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Tight ends are a little. I'm gonna go ahead and skip the O line since there's not really much stats on that. We can definitely break that down as the season comes in, but we do have to talk about these playmakers, this edge position on defense. We got to talk about it. And can we all agree who leads this list?
Will
Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nobody like him. This guy is a monster. What do you have? Like 17 and a half sacks a year ago? Like, Will Anderson was in contention for the Heisman. Should definitely be a front runner this year.
Definitely.
I mean, that's the peak. That's the peak right there. This guy is a man amongst boys.
He definitely is.
So, but what after that? Where are we looking at edge? Who is anybody grab your attention?
I mean, right now, Jim Harbaugh's calling Mike Morris the next Aiden Hutchinson.
Ooh,
so he's really
high praise.
To call someone the next Aiden Hutchinson is big for me because my love for Aiden and how well he did. So Mike Morris is going to be my guy to watch for Michigan.
I like that.
He studied Aiden a lot, and I know Aiden has been working with him in the off season to teach him a lot of different things since Aiden's local. And Aiden's been hanging around Michigan doing a lot of training himself. So
his team is not that far away. I mean, it's not like it's far drive.
Basement right now.
See,
exactly. Put it that way.
Yeah.
He's not even gotten his own place yet.
Save that money.
Yeah.
But Mike Morris, I think, is going to be the shocker in the Big Ten this season at edge.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Oh yeah. What do you think, Alex?
So I mean, Nolan Smith. We'll see what happens. He was supposed to be a pretty high draft pick last year, and then all those allegations came out. So we'll see what happens this year. But super talented guy. He's another one of those do-it-all guys that Georgia had across that front seven. Speed, power, size, the whole 9 yards. BJ Ojulari from LSU is another guy to keep an eye on. It's a lot of SEC edge rushers at the top. Derek Hall from Auburn, Brenton Cox from Florida, and then Miles Murphy from Clemson's my other guy.
Yeah, I like that. And then, so Anthony's saying Isaiah Foskey out of Notre Dame.
Yes,
I've heard a lot about this guy as well. Xavier, how do you talk about Clemson? Xavier Thomas out of Clemson. Zach Harrison out of Ohio State. Definitely seeing if they could see what they can bring with that. But I mean,
you know more about Michigan State than I do. Who's their edge rusher?
Who is their main guy? Did he? I know. I don't know. We got Panzak on our
He
team.
came back. I know that.
I can't remember his name.
Oh shoot! I'll see if I can find it.
Because I thought he did pretty good against us when you guys played us, and now his name's eluding me.
Yeah, the only one I can think of is that Panasiuk, or however you say his last name.
Yeah.
But there was 2 brothers that had the same name there.
Yeah, there are.
Was it Panzak or Panzuik or
something?
He left.
Did they both leave though? Because there was a. There was.
I don't know. We're gonna look that. We're gonna definitely try to find that one out.
Because I remember he did really well against us when you guys played us.
Yeah.
And I can't think of his name.
Huh.
I see him. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Exactly what you mean.
We know you see him in your nightmares. Let's go. Go green. Go white.
We got that Big Ten championship. That's all I see in my dreams. So
that's all I see too.
Wow. Coach
I see us in the top 4.
Wow.
Not standing on third base.
On behalf of my baby, let me defend the coach that beat you guys the last 2 years.
Tuck coming.
Mr. Tucker, man. Hey, we're gonna do some things. Watch out.
They're gonna be a damn good team this year, that's for sure.
They are. I'm scared about Michigan State. They're in my nightmares because we haven't beat Mr. Tucker yet.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
But I'm eager to see what they do this year because they definitely are going to try to reload. Obviously, losing Kenneth Walker is huge for any team, and now I think it's going to be more on Peyton Thorne's shoulders. There were some times where he shined, but there were some times where I was very questionable of him. But bringing his wide receiver back is definitely huge. Yeah.
And they brought in a couple good transfer running backs again this year. Yeah. I can't think of their names off the top of my head, but we all saw what they did with Kenneth Walker last year. So
exactly,
Kenneth Walker was explosive.
Where did that come from? What?
Was it Wake Forest or Georgia Tech? I can't remember which one, but
I think it was Wake. Yeah,
I think it was Wake. Yeah.
It was amazing, and I was so glad that obviously for Cat and everything, but to see that. But I'm glad he was able to parlay that into getting into the league, getting drafted, and hopefully he can help them, man. Like,
yeah,
he's a dominant running back.
Where did he go? I forget.
Seattle, yeah.
A
team that needed it.
Yep.
So, desperately.
But let's go ahead and move on. We'll definitely get that Michigan State stuff for you a little bit later. D tackle, definitely Jalen Carter. I know tops the list. He got all those guys ahead of him at Georgia. Now we're gonna see if this is gonna be his year. Jackson, player out of Baylor, another guy. Javon Dexter out of Florida. A couple guys that definitely clog up the middle. Any guys that stand out to you guys?
I'll jump in.
More than you've named.
I've got a few. Zach Pickens from South Carolina. This is one to me that could easily be the number one defensive tackle come draft time. Very solid guy on that interior. Brian Breesy from Clemson. Tyler Davis from Clemson. Taron Vincent from Ohio State. PJ Must for Penn State. Mozzie Smith from Michigan did well in the spring.
Yes, he did.
So there's a few really good tight ends and defensive tackles in this class. I feel like it could be a good defensive tackle draft.
Okay. Kate?
I'm good. Jalen Carter is who I picked.
Yeah.
He's the best one to watch.
Yeah.
He's scary good.
I've heard that he's supposed to be essentially the heir apparent to Big Baby and all those other guys, and they're really touting him to be the next guy, the guy in waiting. So
I think he will be too. I'm going to miss watching Big Baby, to be honest. He was one of my favorite defensive players to watch.
Oh, so fun.
It's crazy now that they're all gone. They're all in the league, and you really can't appreciate it until after the fact. But when you saw how dominant that defense was a year ago, man, it was all-time great, man. It was really good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm going to miss him, to be honest.
Man, let's see if they can they definitely duplicate that. Moving down to the linebackers, number one guy that I got to talk about is the brother of a guy that's on y'all's home team, Mr. Noah Sewell, the brother of Penei Sewell. This guy is a linebacker out of Oregon. You talk about Cristobal really kind of recruiting those guys and solid players. This guy, they're touting him to be as good on offense or as impactful on offense on defense as Penei Sewell is on offense. And hey, I'm eager to see what he does. Definitely now that he's got Dan Lanning out there, that defensive minded guy, I want to see if he can really show up. Hey, and what better way to show up than the first week? You got to play Georgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's
a good test.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But outside of that, Drake Thomas out of NC State, Harper Poole out of Arkansas, another guy that kind of again, you look at these teams and you constantly like, oh, they're not that good. They're not that good. But they have these players that are top tier when you break down the tape, when you see. And this guy is one of those. And my last guy, Carlton Marshall out of Troy.
Okay.
Looking at him, he was a walk-on over at Troy. In the last 4 years, he has been in the top 89 to 90 percentile in defense and linebacker and pass rush and stuff. And you're like, okay, again, he's at Troy, so you don't really see as much tape on him.
Right.
He constantly rates high for his position. So I'm eager to see what he does this year. Let's see if he can translate that to a draft pick or something. Kate, what do you think at linebacker?
Someone that, because I watch a lot of Arkansas because my brother is a professor there. Don't laugh when I say his name, but he's really good to watch at that position. But his name is Bumper Poole.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah.
I always laugh when they said his name when I'd watch them last year. I was like, don't say his name, don't say his name. But he's really going to be someone to watch.
Yeah.
And then the Washington Huskies have, oh gosh, you guys are better at pronouncing their names. Edifwan Olufacio.
There you go.
That's about as good as I would have done.
Right. It's better than me.
I'm bad at these names.
You're good.
Like, can you just call yourself something else? But anyway, I think even with his injury-prone career at Washington and the pandemic and their shortened season, I think he's going to be one that we should watch out for as well.
Yeah.
I think that Washington-Michigan game was a fun one to watch. That night game we had.
Yeah.
And I'll be curious to see how well he does.
Yeah.
Me too.
But he's coming off injury.
Yeah.
A couple people are exactly like that. They're coming off injury.
I just like the unknowns of our wide receiver. He'll be an unknown, but a lot of people are talking high praise about him, even despite his shortened career. His numbers prove that he can do amazing things. And
yeah.
Someone like Pickens from Georgia last year.
But
yeah.
I'm excited to see though my Arkansas boy.
Yeah.
Bumper. Who are you thinking about, Alex? Who you got?
So I'm glad you took the Washington kid because I had him on my list. I didn't want to say that name.
Thanks, Alex.
And then I had 5 others here. Trenton Simpson from Clemson, Jack Campbell from Iowa, Merlin Robertson from Arizona State, Henry To'o from Alabama, and Nick Herbig from Wisconsin. You get a wide range of players from those kind of guys. You get your typical 4-3 middle linebacker, 4-3 outside linebacker, that 3-4 inside linebacker. Herbig can even rush the passer off the edge a little bit. He's kind of one of those do-it-all guys. Again, another very good class of linebackers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why is the defense always so loaded in college football?
That's a good question.
Speed.
Speed kills.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys are quick. And you don't got to be so big. You don't have to be 250, 260 like you do in the NFL. You can be 220, 215. But if you got that speed and that quickness, yeah, they can use you.
Looking at Nakobe Dean. That's a perfect example.
Right. So one other guy I mentioned to you guys off camera, Yvonne Pace Jr.
Yes.
He played for Miami of Ohio a year ago, was a 2021 MAC Defensive Player of the Year. So now he transferred to his hometown of Cincinnati to play with his brother Deshaun Pace at Cincinnati. I am very eager to see if he can continue bring what he had over at Miami of Ohio over here to Cincinnati, see if it fits in, and to see what they do this year. We talked about kind of where they landed in the top 25 or how people are looking at them. We know they lost a number of pieces with Desmond Ridder, Alec Pierce. You lose your, Kobe Bryant, Gardner. You lose all your big guys.
J. Sanders.
Right. So now you're trying to figure out, how, they're not the Alabamas, the Georgias that you can just reload.
You don't have 15 5-star prospects behind these guys.
Right. So let's see how this stuff translates. They're definitely one team that we're all kind of saying they might have a.
I haven't seen many of the top recruits putting Cincinnati in their watch list.
Oh no.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what Luke Fickell does there.
Yeah.
He's a great coach at developing some of these guys.
Very good.
A lot of these guys can come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
he might have some gems.
Expected them to be in the top 4 last season, not me.
I did.
I did too, actually.
I told Anthony, I said, watch these guys, man. They got a bunch of solid guys. And the year before, I think it was like the Sugar Bowl or something like that.
Against Georgia, yeah.
They lost them by 3 points. So I was like, man, watch out for these guys.
Yep.
They had a year.
That was me all last year, too.
Yep. There we go. Great minds think alike. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yo, moving down, coming to the end, cornerback. Want to talk about some of these guys. Alex, I'll come to you first, and we'll go around real quick, and then we're going to hit the can't-miss games before we head out.
All right, to me, my personal number one corner, he's not the best guy in this class, but Joey Porter Jr. I love watching this guy week in and week out. Yeah. Kelly Ringo from Georgia is a better corner. Eli Ricks from Bama is a better corner. But just the tenacity that Joey Porter plays with, he plays a lot like his dad, but he's in a corner body, just unrelenting out there. It reminds me of some of those old corners, and I absolutely love it. I'll leave your North Carolina guy for you. Riley Moss from Iowa. They've always got one or two really solid corners every year. I think this is the guy that's going to be that for them. Noah Daniels from TCU. And Clark Phillips from Utah for me.
Oh, yeah. Clark Phillips, my guy.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kate?
Well, I had Eli Ricks, and when I did some investigating, you know how we brought up Mika Fitzpatrick and his new contract. Eli Ricks might be the first guy from Alabama since 2017 to win the Thorpe Award. He's on the Thorpe Award watch list already. And so since Mika was brought up, I thought that's an interesting fact to know that he's already on that list. But on the list that I saw, I mean, I'm surprised you didn't mention him yourself, Alex, but DJ Turner from Michigan.
Yeah.
Well, is going to be one to watch.
Absolutely.
He took over and started in week 8 last season and performed at a high level. So we'll see what he does this season. I'm very excited to watch him.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also Jason Marshall Jr. for Florida will be fun to watch.
Ooh.
So
that's a good one.
Those were my top 3.
I like it.
Oh, I do like that. I do want you to go ahead, Alex, and say that North Carolina guy. I want other people to, because I don't want to seem like such a homer. Go ahead, please, if you don't.
All right. Tony Grimes from North Carolina.
There you go.
One of these guys that's going to be up at the top of this corner list come draft time.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
And
thank you for that.
Real quick, the sleeper to watch they're saying is, again, excuse me if I botch his first name, Mekhi Gardner of the LSU Tigers.
Yes. That's going to be a solid player.
Yeah. His stats are very good. 15 pass breakups, 3 interceptions last season. So really good numbers to join Brian Kelly. We'll see what Brian Kelly does with him, but he's the sleeper to watch. is what everyone is saying.
Okay.
I can dig it. Yeah, man, y'all hit it on the head. The only other guy I saw on there was Darrell Luter Jr. And he was definitely a solid man-to-man guy. 4 interceptions, 9 pass defenses, which is tied for 8th in the country. You know what I mean? He had 45 targets against him, and it had more touchdowns and pass defenses combined with 14 that he had completions against him, which only was 12. You know what I mean? And it was like the lowest. It was like 26.7, completion percentage against him on defense. But he plays at a smaller school, so he's not well looked at. But definitely, I like what I see with him. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens this year.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and move on to these can't miss games. My producer, aka my fiance, is texting me. So getting close to that time.
Going.
So, we want to get into some of the can't miss games of the 2022 season coming up. We know there's a lot that if you're a fan of a certain team, obviously with Michigan, there's some serious ones we're going to talk about later. We're going to leave that for the end. But there's also a bunch of early ones that I definitely wanted to talk about. Let's start off. Anthony, you're in the comments. What do you guys think? Georgia, Oregon, week 1.
That's a good way to start the season.
Yeah. Now we know Oregon has a new coach. We know also they have Bo Nix, he transfer from Auburn.
Right.
They lose Crystal Ball, but they still have a good, it seems, culture. We talked about Noah Sewell.
They lost Thibodeau too.
Right. Can they match up against a team that also lost, like Katie, like you said, 15 players, starters to the draft?
But they're loaded.
Right. But who was able to reload? Can they realistically stay on that level with them?
Georgia will win that game.
To me, and my guy Alec isn't gonna like this. He's an Oregon fan, as we saw with that first comment there. But this is that game that's gonna say to everyone that Georgia's not gonna miss a beat this year. I think Georgia absolutely slaughters Oregon.
Me too.
I don't think it's close.
Yeah.
I don't think it's close.
The dogs are going to eat the ducks.
Yeah, and this is going to shoot, if our rankings were right there and Georgia sits at 3, that's going to shoot them right back up to 1.
Yep.
Right where they should be, if you ask me.
Georgia's the team to beat this season, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Handy, your team is the team to beat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I could definitely see that one. Another one that is catching a lot of people's attention because of one of the quarterbacks is the Heisman hype. Miami, Texas A&M. How are you guys looking at that? Man, Van Dyke's in there, but Texas A&M is top 4, top 5 in the league, in the country. What do you guys think?
I think this is a sneaky, underrated game. I think this is going to be one of those games. Texas A&M is a lot like a lot of these other teams where they have that game that's a lot closer than it should be. Yeah. Normally, it comes against one of those guys that are teams that might be Div 2 talent-wise, that kind of thing. But I think Miami's going to come and punch them in the mouth here. I think A&M's going to hold on and win. But I think if this game's a year or two down the road, I think Miami actually takes that game. But
it's going to be
Mario doesn't quite have that team yet.
Yeah.
It'll be a close one. It'll be one of those that you're going to want touchdowns, but you might get field goals.
Yeah.
One of those.
Defensive battle, yeah.
It's going to be it'll be a gritty game.
Yeah.
But I think A&M will win it.
Yeah. And I think it's to your point about that A&M, they have Jimbo. They have a coach. They have a culture, but they also have their recruits and their guys. Cristobal doesn't have any recruits yet at Miami. He's playing with somebody else's team, essentially. So when he, like you said, in a couple years, I think he'll be good. I think he'll have his team with him. The other game I want to go with, and then I'm gonna send it to you, Alex. The other game I want to go with is what I mentioned earlier: Coastal Carolina, UVA. This one, in my opinion, if it doesn't go 45-44, then it's gonna be a bad game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just something that you're expecting a shootout. These two are top tier quarterbacks. Both guys that are highly touted and, potentially in that hugely amazing quarterback draft that's coming up. So I am so eager to see this one because I'm not looking for any defenses. In fact, I don't want any defenses. I just want teams to get torched back and forth on this one. So that's the one I'm definitely focused on. Alex, I'm coming to you. What are some of the games that you're interested in?
So I've got 3. I mean, obviously, the team down south is always there.
Oh yeah,
that team.
Yeah, the in-state rivalries there. Playing Halloween weekend, I think that's going to be an awesome game.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying to get to that game actually. I'm trying to plan a trip that weekend to get down to that one. We'll see if it actually works out.
Oh yeah,
and then my third one has nothing to do with Michigan. It's that Alabama A&M game.
That's the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah, all this talk all off season between Jimbo and Saban, and it's like last year. I was really excited for that Ole Miss Alabama game because it was so heated between Kiffin and Saban, and I don't know if you guys remember the pregame stuff there, but they're trying to interview Lane Kiffin, and they asked the first question, and he cuts the lady off, and he's just like, "Just get your popcorn ready," and throws the headset. Yep. I was just like, "Oh boy, here we go!" And it's that kind of feel already. Like, I'm circling that game 5-10 times. Like,
oh yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh, for sure, man. I cannot wait to see that one just because there's so much going on in the offseason, like what you were talking about. Oh, man.
I think that one will be the best game in college football to watch this season because there's so much beef going into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Kirby Smart's going to do everything in his power to beat him. Jimbo will.
It's going to be fun. Jimbo will, yeah.
The one game I love is always the Texas-Oklahoma game.
Yep.
Yes.
That is a staple game to watch. It's played on neutral field. I love the Red River Shootout.
Yes.
I think it'll be interesting without Lincoln Riley as the coach.
It's such a different feel of the game this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of been back on neutral ground where I think Texas can win it.
Yeah. You got Sark versus Brent Venables, a defensive guy versus an offensive mind. It's going to be interesting. And that one, it did not disappoint a year ago. And
no, it did not.
It won't disappoint this year.
And of course, I'm curious about the game, as we call it in the Big Ten.
The game.
And Harbaugh's coming.
Yeah.
Harbaugh's coming. This is the year we beat Michigan State and we beat Tucker.
How many wins do y'all have against them?
I said this is the year, Sean.
I'm just saying.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope for that game. I'll be curious to see some of the ACC games, Sean, to be honest with you.
I cannot
You have a very interesting conference with NC State and
North Carolina, Wake
North
Forest. Carolina.
For that game. Yeah.
I'm very eager to take a look at what we have in the ACC. Miami, North Carolina, North Carolina State, Wake Forest, Clemson. Like we have
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh with Slovis now. So we have a bunch of teams right now that really kind of making, sticking our chest down, being like, hey, we're not all just Clemson. You know what I mean? Or like when Florida State was there, when they first got into the ACC, they were not just Florida State. You know what I mean? We are a lot of other squads. So let's see. I'm hoping we put up some numbers this year and shock the world.
I hope so too.
That would be. I think it'd be a good season for us. I think we can all agree we need to dethrone the SEC. I think
all I gotta say is you're a basketball school, and now you're gonna be a football school.
Now for basketball, I don't know if y'all can see down there in that corner, the 2023 national champs.
Okay. Let's
Let's
pump
go.
the brakes a little bit.
Tar Heel Nation, let's go. Had to throw that in there. It's a college show, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. So ladies and gentlemen, we are so glad that you were able to sit here and join us today. Dive into the college football arena, the whole college football world with us, talking about the top 25, our teams, who's going to shock the world, the players, the Heisman Hopefuls, the games, everything. And ladies and gentlemen, we're coming this fall to give you the ins, the outs, recap the games, talk about the players, give you our early Heisman guys, way too early, obviously. And also each week, check it out because we're going to have a little Does That Make Me Crazy? Our upset pick. We're going to go through and pick a team that we think this is it. This is the week. Yes, but especially when it gets late in the year and you have a team that this is an 0-8 team, but this week they're going to pull it. They're going to take care of business. So
we've got good experience with that from last year.
I love those shakeups. That is college football to me, man. Rushing the field, just woo.
Yeah.
Nothing gets me happier than when I see my boys touch the banner and they're running through the tunnel.
Man, come on. Yeah. I mean,
there's nothing like college football.
There isn't.
Nothing at all. No, absolutely. The whiteout.
I'm sorry,
at Penn
I know
State,
you an
the
NFL
smoke
show.
at Miami. Yeah,
Virginia Tech every week. Like,
it's I think we can agree that college, it's for me, it's my first. I know it's your first, Katie, Alex. I don't know if it's your first. Yeah. I love NFL. I love my whatever we call our team in Washington now. But there is nothing like that college football Saturday, waking up, watching all of the games, or as many as you can get to, and just sitting there like, oh my goodness, turn to this game and turn to that game. It's just so wide open. It's so new. You never know who's going to come out. I mean, obviously now we kind of do, but
it starts with me turning on ESPN and College Game Day.
Oh, amen.
Yep.
Watching those four guys break it down.
Yep.
Seeing what mascot head Lee Corso's going to put on that morning.
Not so fast. Oh, I love that. I love Lee Corso.
I love it.
Desmond, Kirkstreet, all of them. I love it. Yes.
The banter.
Yes. The bands.
The bands, the fans,
the march. There's nothing like it, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely nothing like it. And as you can see, we could not wait till the fall. We had to talk a little bit of college football because it's on our minds. We're watching videos. We're listening, reading clips. We're listening to podcasts all about it because we cannot wait. The 2022 season is almost upon us. First games are August 27th, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned.
Just over 2 months.
Yes.
Yeah, and this Friday, Alex, I can start looking at my game packages for the big house.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm excited about that. I want to see what you guys doing. I might have to make it to the big house, man. I might have to make that happen.
Like it. There's nothing like it.
You guys like
spring game, but never for an actual game.
Do you guys like green? Can I wear green over there? Is that gonna
October 29th? If you
October 29th, bring it.
If you want to,
you'll be leaving upset, but
we'll be taking Paul Bunyan back, but that's fine.
Little brother can ride the bus back to East Lansing.
Oh my goodness! Now, on that note,
one thing we'll have to talk about are the traditions of our teams this season. Because Michigan definitely has traditions at their games, songs they play, and different things. That the fans do.
Oh, I love that. And I also want to touch on. I want to bring back some of the greats. You know, we talked about Desmond Howard, Charles Woodson. You know, a few guys. I want to bring back those guys. I couldn't find it now. I think it's tucked away somewhere. My Barry Sanders jersey, Oklahoma State, probably one of the best seasons in college football history from a single player. But just the names, man, just going back to those great Miami teams, the number of quarterbacks they had, Kozar, Kelly, you know what I mean? Just going down the line. And
I loved watching Deion Sanders in college.
Right. Oh. Come on now. So I love that. And I want us to, that's definitely something I think we definitely have to bring back. So people not only know what's going on now, but look, there was some stuff going on years and years ago that is just, you got the history. Yes, absolutely.
Talking about the rivalry of like Bo and Woody.
Yes.
Oh,
that rivalry. Oh,
you had.
That was one of the best ones in college football.
We have to talk about that. We have to bring that stuff out, man. And he coaches. I mean, You guys had one of the greatest, and Bo, but then also and Lloyd Carr. Lloyd Carr, and for some reason, is very underrated as one of the best coaches. Time.
Definitely. He coached the '97 team.
Yeah. So
his grandson just committed to Notre Dame.
I know.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was us at Notre Dame, and he went to Notre Dame. I don't know how he could do that, but
I know.
Sorry about that.
Alex, I thought we were going to talk about bad things.
No, wow. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna have to go on and we're gonna go ahead and get on out of here. We will definitely be posting something, let you know when the next time we will be coming on, but definitely look forward to seeing us this fall, ladies and gentlemen. We're bringing you the games, the news, the notes, everything that is going on, and all the important topics that will be happening during the season. So I am so excited that I am able to sit here with these guys, myself, Mr. Sean Spencer,
Katie Alverson,
and Alex Loosemore.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna take you out the same way we brought. Take you out the same way we brought you in. Hope you like it. We'll see y'all next time.